Stand straight with feet hip-width apart and your toes pointing slightly outward. Lower your buttocks towards the floor until the hip joint is lower than the knees. Keep your back straight when you squat. Neutral spine position.
Your feet should be at hip-width apart, with your toes pointing slightly outward, and the knees move in a straight line toward the feet. The feet's external rotation gives the freedom of movement in the hip and pelvis when lowering the body. Performing the squat this way will help keep the back straight and aligned throughout the movement.
The active joints are the knee, hip, and ankle joints. The quadriceps femoris extends the knees. The gluteus maximus extends the hip joint. The hamstrings and hip adductors assist in hip extension. The gastrocnemius plantar flexes the ankle joint. The core muscles stabilize the torso. If we try to perform the squat without an active muscle system, the body will collapse. So which muscles must we add to the skeleton in order to get it back up to standing position? The first muscle we connect to the bones is the quadriceps femoris. One side connects to the tibia and the other to the femur and the pelvis. Now, let's activate the muscle and see what happens. The muscle extends the knee and the leg straightens. What do we do now? The leg straightened, but the body is still leaning forward. How will we lift the trunk? How will we straighten the trunk from a position of flexion to extension? Let's try to connect another muscle to it, where one end is connected to the pelvis and the other to the femur. This muscle is the gluteus maximus. In addition, we will add another muscle that will help to lift the trunk. We'll connect one side to the lower part of the pelvis and the other side to the tibia. These are the hamstrings. Now, let's activate these muscles and see what happens. The muscles pull the pelvis and the trunk lifts. We see that the whole movement is performed through the hip joint, hip extension. Oops, we have another problem. The spine is not stable. This is the time to strengthen and stabilize it. This muscle belt is the spinal erectors. And in addition, we will wrap the abdomen in a belt that maintains intra-abdominal pressure. This is the transversus abdominis. Let's activate all the muscles and see the result. We have good movement. Oops, not yet. We'll try to get the knees that collapsed forward back into place. Contraction of the gastrocnemius and the soleus will pull the tibia backward and prevent the knee from collapsing forward. Let's check the final result. Now we have a good squat. In this video, we tried to clarify the main muscles that are active when performing the squat. Of course, there are other synergist and stabilizing muscles that we did not present in this video. Before performing a squat or any other leg exercise, we must create a stable base from the foot through the hip muscles and up to the core muscles. A stable base will balance the load on all the joints and bones. The principle is to statically activate the foot muscles in order to maintain the arch, and at the same time to activate the hip rotators by rotating the hip outward, in order to stabilize the knee and the hip and also to contact the core muscles. All of these muscles work together and form a stable base for the leg exercises. How do we do this simply? You can perform two actions that can activate all the relevant muscles. 1. Press the big toe down onto the floor. 2. Rotate the hip externally. Drive your knee outward and at the same time push the legs to the sides as if you want to separate them. Fixing the foot and rotating the hip will preserve the foot arch and stability of the knee and hip. Moving the legs apart and contracting the pelvic floor will activate additional muscles, among them the hip abductors and the core muscles. A short practice of these two actions will give you a very important motor pattern that from now on can serve as a basis for all leg exercises.